My name is George Coombs. I think if you use an example of Instagram, I feel like it's very much in terms of a structured and a display. So it's like a visual, aesthetic structure. It definitely, if you go on people's profiles as well, you can see sort of what theme and what visuals they go with. So I think comparison's easy. As much as we as normal people compare ourselves to other individuals and their experiences and what we've gone through, we now give ourselves a platform to do so. So I think it's so much easier for you to say, well, in my everyday life, I'm different to you in this way, or I'm similar to you in this way, or I can't believe you go through these things when I do these. But then if you actually compare it to social media as well, it's quite easy to do the same because people look at social media as a visual representation of who they are as an individual, and they very much use that as a platforming tool. So it's actually quite easy to compare yourself to other people's social medias. And then if you look at the different accounts of social media as well, like Twitter's very much in terms of you've got to have a stance on something, you've got to shout and to avoid. Instagram is very much of a personal representation of what you want to portray as yourself through visuals and aesthetic. And then Facebook is sort of like the messy one in between. But I think it's quite easy to do so, yeah. I would say my social media profile represents what I want it to represent. I think it's very much in terms of I've got a lot of OCD and I'm very controlling anyway. So I control my social media accounts to display what I want them to display. My Instagram account is just a bit of a messy one where I don't care. And I think we're finding that the generation is slowly moulding into them being, yes, very clinical in terms of how they actually portray themselves on social media, but it's slowly becoming a I don't care either. And it's a very I don't care attitude that is becoming the norm. But that's still got a shroud around people being very clinical in how they actually present it. So you might come across as a bit like, oh yeah, blasé, I don't care, but they've put a lot of thought into how blasé they are about that post. So yeah, I would agree that probably everything that I am as a person isn't on my social media, but that's not for everyone to know. I very rarely put anything on about my boyfriend because I don't want people to know who he is, because my friends will know him. That's my life. We've very much been in a situation where we were bothered about what everyone thought about us, and then we grew up with social media. So we grew up with the Facebook where you posted everything. Like, I've been deleting my memories at the moment because I've got things like, oh, it's eating grapes or likes to snow. And I'm like, why are you commenting everything? Like, it's not just a ramble for you to be able to say your thoughts into a platform. So I think because we've lived through that, we've got to the point now where we talk to our parents and our cousins and the people who are a bit older where they were just themselves and the only people that knew them properly was the people in their inner circle. And we like to hang on to that. So I think I'm very much in terms of, I don't mind people knowing who I am and what I'm about, but at the same time, like, it's not all about what you need to know. Like, it's my life as well. If I don't post about an event, I'm not really too concerned now. I used to be horrible with it. So I used to be obsessed with Snapchat, and I used to make sure that everyone knew what I was doing throughout the entire time. But it gets to the point, I look at a few of my friends who are in third year who, there's a 3-year age gap, but you can tell there's a 3-year age gap, and they post everything on social media and Snapchat, and I'm like, that's fine, but I'm very much in the mentality where if you've not actually lived in the moment, then what's the point? I think it's interesting, like, if you go somewhere special and you want to post a photo or tag it in, then it's nice for people to know you've been there because it's nice for your friends to see what you've been doing. But I'm not really concerned about having, every single image needs to be of my half an hour by half an hour account of the day. Like, if it's interesting, I'll put it on. If it's not, it's my life. I can do what I want with it. Well, people only post the positive because of the fact they don't want other people to realise that there's something wrong with them or they're human. Social media gives yourself a platform where it is the elite of the elite, and you look at a lot of people. If we take the Love Island franchise, and we're seeing a lot of problems with that in the media at the moment in terms of, unfortunately, we've lost 3 people now to suicide who are male individuals involved in the Love Island franchise, and it just goes to show that what you present at the forefront isn't always what is actually going on behind the scenes. But no one ever wants to show a level of vulnerability, and I think a lot of people struggle with that level of vulnerability anyway in their everyday life. People struggle having a conversation with their best friend or a family member about them going through a hard time. So why is there an expectation then for you to be able to then put that on social media? I think people put the positives on social media because they don't want them to realise it's almost like you're not human. You're the better self of what you want to be on social media. The reason why there's so much stigma around social media and the reason why it does affect everyone's well-being is because everyone tries to be the best they can be every single day. And the moment you start to generate this idea of I can only be the best I can be on social media, it actually starts to infiltrate your everyday life. I do personally think we are becoming a bit more real online. People are breaking down taboos and they're coming together a lot. I still stand up and say social media is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to us, but everything that's good doesn't have everything. You know, it's not always 100% positive. There's always negatives that come to it, and social media has a lot of issues. But we forget that social media is run by people. Like, we control what goes on social media. If we want to break the stigma, we need to do it ourselves, and it comes from the actual people and the force of the army of what it is. So I say high school and sixth form was when I used to post quite a lot, and I can look back on my memories and I cringe at everything, because you're trying to generate social media activity just for the sake of it, and try and have conversations with people when you know for a fact, oh, I was going through a bad time then, or it wasn't great. I think now, being a bit more mature and a bit older, if I don't want to post on something, I don't have to. There's no requirement anymore. And you look at the younger generations who are still doing that sort of stuff, and that's fine, they'll learn. But it is a sense of not wanting to be left out as well, and not wanting to feel alone, wanting to be part of the craze. I just think the pressure for actually posting on social media is because it's a norm now. I think it's just because it's part of culture, it's part of society. You know, there's a pressure from an early age to actually talk and communicate with each other via social media. And there is a pressure to make sure people understand what you're going on with your life. It's like when your friend says someone's name, you say, oh, what's the Facebook? And you check it out, what's their Instagram? And you go and check them out. If they've not put a lot of posts, you've got an instant sort of like, are they fake, or what's wrong with them? Like, well, what's the issue with them not posting? Things will evolve to the point where there will always be a social network in some way. So I don't think you could ever get rid of it.